We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Okay, welcome to this week's episode of our Talk News TV with your host, Herman Tiu Laurel. And it's been some time that this discussion and controversy over the Bangsamoro discussions have gone on. And we let some time pass and all the other commentators dwell on this matter. But now we think it's time for two intelligent scholars and actors in the drama of our southern brothers and this issue of Muslim autonomy to be heard by our audiences here on GNN. And I personally have been arranging our discussions with them, or this discussion with them for the past 2 months, because one is a professor who's always been very busy and maybe just a bit reluctant to discuss in public. We are together in the Diliman Book Club where we discuss books, analyze books that we read, and we think the public should be interested in, as well as various issues of national concern. Our other guest, of course, has been here 4 or 5 times before. He is our only really reliable source of information and updates on what's going on in Mindanao, because he has a on-the-ground view, and he is part of the Muslim community of the country. And so the professor, of course, is Antonio Pangilinan, an international relations scholar, international relations instructor and lecturer in several universities, including PUP, UP, and Ateneo. And our frequent guest from Sulu Tawi-Tawi, former governor of Sulu Tawi-Tawi, and president of the Parhimponan Sin Islam. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Governor Altila. So I was asking who's going to start, age before beauty, but binolunteer ng other guest natin si Al na muna. No? So Al, I told you I'd ask your reflections, insights, and message on what has transpired over the past 2 months over this issue of the peace talks. So Al, go ahead.
At the outset, I want to greet my Muslim brothers in Mindanao, particularly in the Arm region, and of course our Christian brethren in the entire Mindanao. Since the issue of the Arm election, I think we are now getting into the second phase of it, which is now the election proper that will be conducted sometime in May, simultaneously with the national and local elections. And in the interim, we now have this agreement forged between our brothers in the Moro Islamic Liberation Front and our government under the framework agreement label. So as a reflection, we have had 3 past peace agreements under President Marcos, the Tripoli Accord, President Cory, Jeddah Agreement, and under Ramos, the Jakarta-Manila Agreement. And so this, if ever this will be completed, it will be the 4th. In other words, we have had negotiations for the last, 40 years, peace talks.
So let me go back again. The Tripoli, of course, we know that. What is the second one?
Jeddah Accord.
Jeddah Accord.
This was inked in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. and of course the Jakarta-Manila Agreement under Ramos.
Okay, and so we now have the fourth one.
Fourth one, Framework Agreement.
Now, I recall you were very heated up when the ARM elections was postponed. So on hindsight now, was it still objectionable now that there will be elections this coming May? Are your old objections to the postponement still valid?
Yes, but you see, we are in a constitutional government, so once the highest body of the land finally gives a decision, the Supreme Court, then we have to abide by it.
Right or wrong?
Right or wrong, we are a country of laws and not of men.
I'm not one who subscribes to the all-powerful and omniscient Supreme Court. We know the foibles of the justices there, so that's always a dilemma.
That's true.
And so you're law-abiding, so you bow to the majesty of the court.
The court.
No matter if the emperor wears no clothes.
As a moderate, Muslim.
Yes.
This part of the country.
I salute you for that. So, before I go to our professor, what hopes do you hold for the fourth talks on this issue of Muslim autonomy?
Well, as in the past successive peace agreements, the problem is in the implementation. And I think, as they put it in this agreement, the devil is in the details. So what we can see now is a frame, a picture frame without the picture.
Okay, yeah.
And
so that's
what I learned is that they will flesh it in with details and the annexes. So once those details and annexes are put in, so we now have a picture with a frame.
Okay.
Not just a frame. It's not a frame with a picture.
Okay.
So I would appeal to all and sundry to give peace a chance.
One important question before I move on is MNLF and Nur Miswari. We all are aware of his objections. Is it just leveraging? Is it just positioning? Or there is an essential issue of principle in Nur's objections? And you, as a fellow Tausog, is this shared by the other Tausog? Because I'll segue later on to Tony, who mentions the difference between MNLF and MILF, the Tausog and the Maranao, if I'm correct? Magindanaoans. Okay, go ahead.
Well, Chairman Miswari of the MLF has basis for it. Because as I said, the problem with signing of peace agreements between our brothers and our government is the implementation. Many of the provisions of the 1996 peace accord, which mother agreement was the Tripoli and Jeddah, are still gathering dust up to today. And so if the basis is the implementation, then Chairman Miswari has reasons and to air his views. Now, relative to the forging of a new agreement, which is now under the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, which actually came from the Moro National Liberation Front. They were comrades in arms. This is a new episode in the pursuit of that elusive peace in the South. So let's give it a chance as our brothers and our government. I think I spent some time in pursuing this, and in my position is that any form of an agreement that can finally attain that elusive peace in the South, I'm all for it. Because I don't want to flash back what has happened in the past when 9 of my nephews and nieces were almost perished in that conflagration in Olo, 1974.
Well, just for the information of our audience and maybe the younger members of our audience who did not come from the decades of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Governor Altila was a student activist way back in the University of the Philippines and in his college days. And so he has not let up in this pursuit of the just cause for the Islamic community of the Filipino nation, as well as the Filipino nation as a whole. Well, let's go to Professor Pangilinan. His text to me a few days after the announcement of the peace negotiations and its supposed result with the announcement of Marvic Leonen, I recall two important points. Number one, it shifts the locus of the politics of peace from the Tausogs to the Maguindanawans, from, am I correct, Sulu-Tawi-Tawi to Maguindanao? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, and then more crucial point is it may be a moment where the shift also from focus on the issue of Sabah is dissipated to something else. So I'll ask Tony to elaborate on that. But first, your own personal message, reflections, and insight into what has gone on in the past few months.
I would prefer to view the whole issue of autonomy as inseparable from the general provisions of the Constitution. Not because I want to be legalistic about it, but my overall impression from the very beginning is that most of the difficulties of the people in Mindanao, not including the Muslim communities as well as the Lumads and in general, are very similar with the problems of the rest of the country. I think it's overwhelmingly common in nature, and without denying that there are some special cultural, ethnic, religious differences, and I think the commonality is overwhelming, and I think if I may say, the weakness of the previous approach, including the ones that are here, is that my personal impression is there is too much emphasis on what differentiates us. As far as economic misery and poverty and lack of educational opportunities and social welfare and health and so forth, I think it's overwhelmingly common. And the logical process ought to be to address first the common, because that is the best way to cultivate the universality of whatever intervention we're thinking of, no? And then adjust the interventions as we approach things that really matter in terms of differences. I think that way we will have a pretty solid consensus nationwide for every intervention that we do, not just in Muslim Mindanao, but in other areas, like for example in Cordillera. I think there may have been some political motivations for overemphasizing the differences.
Just to interject, maybe somewhat with some levity, somebody said, well, in fact, there is a movement in Pangasinan daw of people. John Castillo was saying we had a meeting with John Castillo. Some people from Pangasinan are organizing the Bangsa Panga. So, I think that's your point.
But I do not mean to underestimate the importance of the uniqueness of the Muslim community. You know, I'm only trying to suggest that we ought to be a little cautious when there is too much emphasis on it. There is probably some motivation there that we may not want to carry too far. But to go back to your earlier question, my general impression is that the agreement now with the MILF shifts the political focus in Mindanao from the Sulu area to the area of Lanao. And historically, from the Sultanate of Sulu to the Sultanate of Maguindanao. I think my primary concern is the continuation of our claims to Sabah, and I actually believe that this may be a weakening of the position, whether or not it is intentional or otherwise. I think it remains to be established. but I think it is much too clear not to be accidental, particularly with the role that has been given to Malaysia. Actually, as early as last year, I was talking to one of the senior technical staff of the panel, and we already advised that, express our reservation for the involvement of Malaysia, because we reiterated that it is an interested party. It is not a neutral party, and our position in Sabah remains to be reasserted. So I would guess that I would be proven wrong if the current MILF would take a strong similar stand on Sabah as has been done by the MNLF and the national government. I have not heard about it, and that would to me constitute a challenge if they would want to reassure us that there will be no weakening on this particular question. I would like to put it also in context that the agreement in Mindanao is not simply an internal domestic problem. It has implications as far as the ASEAN regional community, especially as we approach the date for the integration in 2015. The events in Asia, as the rise of China and the difficulties being encountered by the U.S. economy and Europe, would actually point to the increasing importance of ASEAN. I think far more important than what existing declarations of the association have fully realized. I think now it's becoming much clearer that the economic community of ASEAN will be far more important to us in the coming decades.
Well, so we can see that there are so many dimensions to this, regional and even international. But I'll just ask Al to give a reaction to the points made by Tony.
Well, first of all, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front was born out of the Moro National Liberation Front. In other words, they come from the same umbrella organization originally, until the MLF hierarchy at that time opted to go for autonomy instead of pursuing the independence mode, which our late brother Rasim Salamat spearheaded afterwards. So by and large, they come from the same mold. Now, relative to the shifting of the leadership and power from the Sulu to the Maguindanao or Cotabato region, well, that always comes with the changing of the role players in any arena drama, and so we see it as a reality now, because the MLF has governed for about 10 years, 5 years of Chairman Suarez, and Farouk Hussein was also with the MNLF. Now, relative to the Sabah issue, the Sultanate of Sulu governed the entire of not only Sabah but Palawan, Zamboanga Peninsula, Sulu,
So
and
that's
Basilan.
historically,
the five big areas now. And up to now, the heirs of the Sultanate of Sulu, representing that claim, have not dropped that claim up to now. And so that's still an issue outstanding. The only thing I can't understand is why the national government, from the time after the time of President Macapagal, in deference, and President Marcos, these were the only two presidents that pursued the issue of Sabah, because the heirs of the Sultanate are now citizens of this country. And I was flashing back. If this was an American kind of scenario, the American government pursues, the interests of their citizenry wherever they are in the globe. And here, we from Sulu, the heirs of the Sultanate, this is, not only morally, historically, legally, traditionally, we have this claim. And
Al,
what we are wondering,
you personally feel you are an heir of the Sultanate.
all of us, all of us. And my strong feeling here is it's imbued in all of us, from the Tausug, community, that parang gobyerno natin, parang ina-abandon kami. No? This is a legal claim. This probably is still a big question.
That's right,
But here,
Precisely.
you already have your citizens claiming this legally, etc. But the government is not doing anything about it.
Precisely.
Only Marcos and the late President Macapagal, the two presidents, were really in the forefront of this. And for on behalf of the heirs and the citizens of Sulu especially, I'd want to congratulate the two past presidents for this. And I hope this president will take a major step towards this, whether the resolution of this issue be on the table in terms of settlement with the heirs or sovereignty, whatever it is. Let's put closure into this.
Yes.
Because the principal heirs, Mentong, Tony, have all gone to the other world. And ang fear ko lang dyan, standing fear, is that suppose the next generation of Tausugs will be more militant. We will not entertain, kind of resolution, the International Court of Justice, or even amicable settlement. What will happen? And don't forget that Sulu and the rest of the parts of the Muslim South, and also Sabah, are still Muslim-dominated.
Yes. Well, you mentioned this the first time in this discussion. You mentioned the U.S. Possible U.S. hand here.
Yes.
I think that is very clear. That's why USIP, United States Institute for Peace, is there, which is headed by J. Robinson West, who also happens to be the head of the largest energy consultant firm in the world, which is Energy Consultants PLC, if I recall the name correctly. And of course, it's a consultant to the Chevron, Texaco, and so on.
But the U.S. government here, Mentong, if I may,
Yeah.
has a historic opportunity here, because it had a historic mistake. It did us wrong when they divested the Sultanate of Sulu with all the powers, economic, political, and even
They divested.
Divested.
Okay.
And Sultan Jamalur Kiram II precisely organized what is now the Parhimpunans in Islam, which we have resurrected.
Okay. And before we take our break, I think I begin to understand a great deal more the perspective of the heirs of the Sultanate. And it calls on me to be more involved in that quest for justice, historical justice. But there is also a problem, which is the legitimate direct heir. As you know, there are families competing for this, and how do we resolve this?
Well, the question as to who the heirs are, this can be resolved once the national government will, come in a big way, resolving this among its citizens. After all, these are all citizens now of the Republic, no? And if President Macapagal was able to unite the heirs, late President Marcos was able to unite the heirs, I don't see any reason why our president now cannot, as he has the moral ascendancy, being a very popular president, especially now. And so a historic opportunity will be missed here again by our president, who is now almost midterm in his Watts. And so our concern here as Muslims and as Tausugs is that we want this issue put to a closure, so that at least those children, grandchildren actually of the heirs can benefit from their long lost property, because this property was not, was not given on a silver platter. They fought for it.
Yes.
This was a gift to them by the Bornean.
We'll take our break and we'll get back
Yes, thank you.
to that. So hang on.